I'm Lauren with Pack Hacker, and today we're going to be taking a detailed look at the Bihn Zeitgeist, which I've been testing for the last 2 weeks. If you found this video helpful, be sure to give it a thumbs up so we can keep helping you find the right gear. Let's dive in. So the color of this one that we have here is the Mars Red Coyote Northwest Sky combination. So this here is that Mars Red with the coyote trim here, which just adds a little bit of flair basically. So this bag has a pretty vintage look to it. As you can tell, this logo is actually their like moon label, which is inspired by, you know, a mid-1990s kind of like revamping of a previous one. So it does have a very, you know, 90s feel to it. And since it is such a tiny little day pack too, it's just really cute. So I think it adds a lot of flair. There's, you know, a fair amount of color combinations and different styles that you can opt for. But that's, you know, if you're looking for something that has a little bit of a vintage feel to it, this is a really cool bag for that. So the external materials here, we have a 525D ballistic nylon, which I can bring that up a little bit closer to you for you to see the detail on. And then the liner on the inside is a 200D Halcyon nylon ripstop. So you'll see that when we get onto the inside. But the outside here is pretty sturdy and durable. You know, we don't really expect anything less. And then these YKK zippers here and Woojin hardware. So flipping onto the back here, there are sternum straps. They are removable though. So I found that I didn't really even need these. It's nice to have the option. Just, you know, for security's sake, I suppose. But I did find myself removing them for the most part, just because it added a bit of a cleaner look. So I liked it a little bit better when it was just kind of like, you know, this cool back and then the sleek straps here. So they do slide for adjustability pretty easily here, but to kind of show you what it looks like without, I'll remove, you know, at least one side over here. Pretty easy whenever you want to get them out. And then you just take off the other side. And then I kept these mostly on hand just in case I decided I wanted them. There is a little bit of pocket storage here, which we'll get into, but for the time being, I'll just put these off to the side. And then when you don't have them attached, you know, this is where the rail is, but it's, you know, it's pretty out of the way. So these straps here do have a little bit of foam in them, so they are really comfortable to wear. One thing I will note though is that I did get sweaty pretty quickly. So granted, it was super hot, so on the cooler days I haven't really had an issue, but it was like 95 and humid one day, and it was like, you know, pretty instantly a little too hot for me. So this, you know, this back panel here doesn't have any sort of ventilation to it, nor do these straps themselves. So if you live in a hot climate or you run a little bit on the hotter side, which I run on the hotter side for sure, then that's something to keep in mind. Just because it did get pretty uncomfortable pretty quickly. And since I was wearing this, you know, for hours at a time, I was really aware of it on my back when it got like that. But there's also this carry handle up here for quick grabs, which is nice, or hanging. It's great, you know, as well. It has a very like classic backpack feel to it, which I really like. I mean, I know that's kind of what they were going for with this like kind of vintage feel, but I did really enjoy that. So getting onto the inside here, we have this diagonal zipper, which acts as a front pocket. So that opens up nice and smooth. Here's a, you know, first look at that liner. And then here's where I kept most of my quick grab items. So in here I have my wallet and my phone and my keys. So this has a key strap as well, and it is removable if you decide you don't want it. But the length is really awesome. So I was actually able to kind of put this back in here to show you, but when I had this on my back, I was able to take it off my left shoulder, swing it around to my right, and that made this zipper, this side right here, sit right up at the top. So I could just kind of, open it, or sorry, I guess that, however it ended up working out, but that opened that pocket there so that I could get inside, get right to my keys, and then open up the door to my house, or get to my car keys or anything like that. And the key strap was just long enough where I actually didn't need to remove my keys. So that was really awesome. I like that, just because I find that with a lot of shorter key leashes, all they do is kind of act as sort of keeping your keys in one spot inside the bag, whereas this one had a little bit more function to it. So that was a nice little bonus. And then the rest of this pocket here is empty, but you can stick other stuff in there that you want. It is the length of the bag. So if you have like a larger notebook or something you want to put in there, that's a really great spot for that. I did notice that this pocket here and the main compartment kind of butted heads a little bit. So I'll get a little bit more into detail with that in a moment here, but I'm going to put this stuff back inside so that I can kind of show you what I mean once we get into this main compartment here. So kind of starting off with that specifically, when I put this in, you can see how it starts to round out, and that's fine because, it is a round backpack, but it is a little bit uneven. So if you look, it's a little bit lumpy, and that's because of what I have packed in here. So this main compartment is covered with a fabric wall. I found that I flipped it open for the most part when I wanted to get to the zippers, just because it made it easier. You can definitely pull, no problem. But it ended up just kind of like a habit for me. There is enough space if you wanted to not do that though. So on the inside, you've got just pretty much like an empty bucket here. I've got just like a little tech pouch over this way, and then a zip up. And this zip up is on the chunkier side, so if you have something smaller or a packable jacket, that's really great because it's going to take up less space in here. But if you do have something that's a little bit of a thicker knit, that's something to keep in mind, that it does start to fill up a decent amount of space. So on the inside here is a liner pocket, and this is where I keep stuff that I don't need access to all the time, but I still have on hand. So I've got my mouse and chapstick and my headphones here, and that's a good sized pocket, but it does kind of beef with this outside pocket here. So the more you load into these pockets, the less space you're going to have in here. The more you load into here, it starts to really push on these outside pockets, and then that's where you're going to run into kind of that lumpier look, or just kind of struggling to get things in and out in general. So that is something to keep in mind. And then there are, points for attaching some of the, more modular Tom Bihn products there. If that's something that you really like to customize your bag, there's a few different spots here for you to do that, which is nice. And then this back panel here, this is actually a tablet pocket, technically. It fits up to an 11-inch iPad or a similar sized item, but you can also put notebooks in here, which is more so what I ended up doing. But if you don't put anything in here, it's still a little bit of extra padding for that back. So the back panel does have a little bit of cushion to it, and then that just adds even more if you don't have anything in the actual sleeve pocket itself. It's a little bit fuzzy on the inside. Got photo booth photos in there. Just kind of, I also use this as like a little quick storage pocket. So just because I didn't use it all the time, it was really great if I had something that was like thin but didn't necessarily fit in any of these pockets, or if these pockets were too full, I would just kind of slide stuff in there, which is what I did. And then also I use this a lot for my laptop as well. So it's not technically designed for a laptop because it doesn't have that designated sleeve space, but I have a 13-inch here, and my 13-inch laptop fits right in. I mean, it sticks up at these corners here, so and it's a little bit too, I would say it's too snug of a fit to fit any sort of an additional sleeve. But if you're someone who, you know, doesn't feel like you really need a sleeve and you're okay just kind of having your laptop in a bag, then this is great for that. So, you know, it takes up a very small amount of space here, and then I still have space for things like, you know, a tech pouch. I can add that notebook if I want to. I've got a keyboard. But then as you can start to see, it's already starting to kind of get a little bit clunky and hard to organize. Here, let me flip this up so it's a little bit easier to see. But you can see here, you kind of start to lose out on bottom space just because of, you know, how small this backpack actually is. So then when you go and you want to zip it up, you end up with a little bit of awkwardness here just because, you know, it's more packed out on this side and less on this side. And then you have stuff in here that's, you know, you can kind of rearrange it to get it to look a little bit more even. So like I just kind of stuck my phone over that way. And then if I want, I can take my wallet and put it this way. And you can always just fuss with it, but if you're someone who just kind of wants to dump everything in a bag and go, this may not be the best bag for you just because it does get a little bit clunky here and there. So, you know, and even if obviously, like I said, this is a little bit thicker, but even if I were to try and put this in, like that's just not gonna happen, right? Like it gets to a point where it won't even close up. And kind of the same goes for a water bottle too. So, you know, I've got here's like an 18-ounce hydro flask. If you get that right in that corner where there's nothing really, it's still just like a little bit too big to like really fit in nicely. So that is something where the more you stick in here, the more it's going to impact the shape. But if you just want something that's a little bit more stylish and can carry everyday items that are a little bit on the flatter side, then this is you know, a really great backpack with a pretty solid vintage design to it that gives off a really unique feel. So there you have it, the Bihn Zeitgeist. Thanks for keeping it here at Pack Hacker, your guide to smarter travel, and we'll see you in the next video.